to care for a sick member of your family. You need a babysitter. They want the government to provide taxpayer-paid daycare. You need an abortion. They want taxpayer-paid health care. You want to punish your boss for some remarks you didn't like. You can rush to the sexual harassment Gestapo and give them a really hard time. And if those of you who might be interested in that subject, there's a wonderful new book by a sitting judge in Missouri, Judge Durker, who wrote how the feminists have really manipulated and distorted this whole concept of sexual harassment in the workplace in a very unconstitutional and unfair, unjust way. And you're not getting along with your husband, you can run to legal services and get them to pay for a divorce for you. And of course you can then always accuse your husband of domestic violence, and the judges don't even check into whether you have any evidence. Domestic violence is now so widely defined that it could be almost anything that you could do. The feminist movement claims they are for equality of the sexes, but it is really incompatible with equality. They don't want equality. They want designated female quotas enforced by government. And I think that's very clear from their probably the leading feminist today, who's Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And before she went on the court, she wrote a book describing what she wanted and what the Equal Rights Amendment would do. And it's full of the nuttiest things you ever heard. Not only does she want equality for women in the military, she wants affirmative action for women in the military to get them more jobs and higher jobs. She wants to sex integrate all the prisons and all the reformatories, the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts. She wanted to reduce the age of consent to 12. It's unreal what's in that book. And when she was confirmed for a Supreme Court justice, not one single senator had the nerve to ask her about her own written book under her own name in which she talked about all of these nutty things. So I think these are some of the problems with the feminists. They have gotten themselves in powerful positions in academia, in the judiciary, and in the media. And it's, I think, very destructive to society. And I'm glad to see that there is one brave Harvard professor named Harvey Mansfield who wrote a book under the title Manliness. You know, that's one of these words the feminists have tried to get rid of in our vocabulary. You're not supposed to have any gender-specific word. They're trying to revise all of our textbooks so there won't be any gender-specific words or pictures. But at any rate, he's even tougher on the feminists than I am. He calls them nihilists, and because they are anti-male, anti-masculine, anti-marriage, anti-motherhood, and anti-morality. And it is a destructive movement in our society that has become extremely powerful. And I think it's very important for people to know what it is. The fundamental problem is the attitude. I believe that, as Eleanor Roosevelt said, nobody can make you feel inferior without your own consent. And as Abe Lincoln said, you're about as happy as you decide you're going to be. And it is very unfortunate that a lot of the feminists have been so influential, particularly on college campuses, but in other areas too. And I do recommend my book, Feminist Fantasies, which is available here tonight. It's about 100 of my essays on this subject written over the last 30 years. They haven't changed. It's all just the same. There are a lot of other aspects to it. It tells you everything you need to know about feminism, but didn't know how to ask. And I urge you to realize this destructive element in our society. I thank you for being such good listeners, and I will be happy to engage in dialogue or to answer your questions. If you come to the mic, we can probably hear you better. It's in the It's in the center aisle. I urge you to step up and ask some provocative questions.
If anyone does have a question, I think you're going to have to turn the microphone on. So, I did want to ask one thing, or bring up one point about DePaul University in particular. Just this past weekend, they performed the Vagina Monologues. Annually, they do it every year. And my freshman year, I came to DePaul, and I wanted to find out more about it. So I asked them, what does it take to participate? You would assume that you have to be a woman and you have to have a vagina to participate in the Vagina Monologues. But that's not true. I was told that if you identify as a woman, you can participate. So what do they mean by identify as a woman?
Well, identify as a woman, there's this whole new trend that you're not born being one sex or another. It's you can be whatever you decide you want to be. And here's a Fighting Equal Rights Amendment. They always use. I personally didn't use the restroom argument, but the ERA has always brought this up as an attempt to ridicule. But now, in the last couple of years, restrooms have become a big issue. They were a big issue in the Illinois State Legislature, and the idea is that. If you think you're the other sex, you're entitled to go into that restaurant. And they are trying to maybe have 3 types of restaurants in public places. So the ones who are not sure of what they are, you just wonder where these crazy people come from. But that's what they mean by that. Now, on the Vagina Monologues, I haven't seen it, and it is an amazing marketing accomplishment that they've gotten all these people and all these celebrities to participate in it. But what I've read about the marketing, I don't have time for it. I don't need it. I have 6 children. I do know about sex, and I don't need to go to where people are being sex exhibitionists or talking about sex all evening. I think if you want to talk about sex, it's probably easy to get an audience because that's interesting to a lot of people. But it's hard to see how this is an enhancement for women. And really, it's quite different. When I started debating the feminists, their idea was, their effort was to make women just like men. And really on the basis that God goofed, and they want to remedy his mistake, or should I say her mistake. But now, that's what they would say. And now this so-called performance is celebrating things that are very different from men, and it's beyond me to understand why anybody would want to go to it. Now, I notice it must be vulgar because even Jane Fonda had to apologize for quoting from it on the Today Show. So it must be pretty vulgar if even Jane Fonda has to apologize.
Go ahead.
Michelle, I just want to say, first of all, I'm a big fan.
Yes, it is.
My question is simple, so we've identified the problem is feminism. What do we do?
Oh, what do we do? Well, I always think the first move of doing anything is to get it out for public view. And there just really isn't anybody who attacks feminism head on like I do. And you see, the Bush administration has just been a big pushover on this. They've let the feminists run the education department. And Title IX is another whole area of where the radical feminists have destroyed hundreds of men's sports. I don't know if it's happened here, but they have forced colleges to abolish 171 wrestling teams. Now, somebody tell me how this helps women. It is just an indication of their anti-masculine